As a child, I hated the Palestinians. I grew up in a house where knowing about Palestinian refugees was as important as eating your greens in other people's houses. Supposedly good for you, but God were they boring when adults went on about them. It was my grandparents who went on the most. So concerned were they, family legend has it, that age 50, they packed the Land Rover they used to bring in the logs with a ton of medicine and blankets, locked up their house in Ireland, and trundled across Europe in the general direction of Jordan.
Today in the Near East, a suffering people, the Palestine Arab refugees, are struggling for survival. 750,000 displaced human beings are dependent upon charity for their very existence.
I'm concerned with the miscarriage of justice and the double standards that go on with the Americans and the British over Palestine.
We don't forget a great injustice.
But sod's law, now I'm nearing them in age and wisdom. I wish for nothing more than to be sat at their kitchen table, hearing about their good work with the Palestinians. I've often sifted through my grandma's book where she'd collected the memories of 30 years of their aid work, wondering whether this is something I could do. So that's how it started. I didn't want to make a film about the Palestinians. I wanted to make a film about us. Flying over the desert that first time, I remembered my grandma sending me back across the fields to return a Jaffa orange I'd bought for her. "Don't ever buy things from Israel," she'd said. "Don't you know what they've done to the Palestinians?" Because this was a place that had always been talked about, I immediately recognised the names, but had no idea what to expect. So here I was, 30 years after walking across the fields with that orange, with only a guidebook in hand and my grandma's book, with all the places she and her husband had worked. What was I looking for? I wanted to meet their modern-day equivalents and see whether they were doing any good. But I guess I was also looking for reconciliation with a part of my childhood I'd never understood. I'd started where they had, in the refugee camps. I went to Nablus because the guidebook said that's where the biggest camps were. When my grandparents had come here, they were two of a handful of foreigners who'd come to help. Today, the region has more volunteers per person than anywhere else in the world. In Nablus, there were so many that an NGO had been set up just to manage them all.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. So as far as we know, this morning around 6:30, the shooting happened. We don't know who shot. What we know is that there was a settler that was killed and that two more were injured. So we have to be extra careful. Always use your common sense. I don't want to scare you, but I think it's a gloomy atmosphere that we have right now, you know.
Good. So quick check-in with all the volunteers. So Gabrielle, would you like to check in?
Well, I'm fine. I'm fine too. My dancing classes are so much fun. And the girls are 14 and they think I'm like the queen of the castle. They just love me and it's so much fun.
I'm having a bit of an issue with the women's conversation class because I feel like, I don't know, it's kind of funny. I feel like I kind of like scare them in a sense or something because I'm very different, I guess.
These kids that just live there, they've kicked me, they've spat at you,
the brats that walk around the street.
They're like 4 or 5.
But their family also someone they knew saw them yesterday, hit me really hard, and they just laughed. And that little brat is lucky that I didn't smack him in the face, because he grabbed my arse before. One of the others just like grabbed onto my leg. Do you remember?
Yeah.
They called me a prostitute yesterday.
We picked up one in Arabic was saying like it's forbidden to touch women. What are you doing? Kind of thing. And the kid was just laughing.
And so like seriously, like I'm gonna scream at them next time they kind of go near me. Anyway, sorry, I'll shut up now.